Hello,
Hey, dude.
we're on live. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing very well.
How did today was the fun conference? Is that right?
Yeah, I spoke at this conference called the Fund FUND conference. It's sort of a venture capital, private equity fundraising conference here in Chicago. It was at the UIC forum, which I'd never been to. The forum at the UIC campus.
Yeah.
Um, so I went there, and it was cool. I like to sort of walk into enemy territory in some ways, although the crowd is very polite and very kind, and I didn't feel like enemy territory or hostile territory at all. But clearly, it was a group of people who were interested in fundraising, and there's lots of investors there, and lots of startups who are trying to raise money, and they kind of brought me in to be a like an alternative point of view, an alternative voice, and it was fun. It's always fun. I think it's a good thing for everyone to go into an environment where you are not, or your point of views are not strongly held, because it forces you to have to think a little bit deeper about your ideas and your point of view and explain yourself. Because the thing is, when everyone's very accommodating and very agreeable, you can just say something and people are like, yeah, totally. And you don't have to, you could just say it. You don't even have to know what it means. You can just be like, yeah, this is the way I think. Like, totally, yeah, totally. So you can get by without actually knowing what you're talking about. When you go into a room where everybody has most people have a different point of view than you do, and people push back on it, you have to have, you have to have something supporting your point of view. You have to have structure behind it. Otherwise someone can blow it over and it'll just topple over. You've got to have structure behind it. And structure is like your thoughts and your perspectives and your point of view and your experience and your beliefs and your values and all those things. And it's good. I think it's a really good exercise. And I don't think enough of us do it because we often go to industry conferences, and in industry conferences, there's actually quite a bit of agreement. I actually think that there's far too much agreement in industry conferences, especially when you go on panels. I've kind of sworn off doing panels. I don't really like panels because you don't get enough time to go into depth. So it's just surface discussion. And then for the most part, everyone agrees with each other. Everyone's sort of friendly. And also it's extremely hard to moderate a panel. And I don't think most people aren't very good moderators who end up moderating. And most people are just put in a position to moderate. It's not their fault. It's a skill. It's an art like anything else.
Right. And it needs preparation that I don't think most moderators realize or then do, right? I mean, they need to know who they're moderating, in detail, to really be able to know, hey, Jason, I think you're going to have a really good point of view on this. Let's go to you. But
right.
Nobody's really tooled to do that when they step up to that job.
Yeah, it's usually get three people in a row. Let's start here. Let's go down the row. Let's go back. It's not like a really directed conversation in that way. It's a conversation around proximity, basically. And then also, when people come prepared with questions, you don't really get into depth because someone's just ready to go down their list. And so anyway, I just think it's handy for entrepreneurs or anyone really to go into a venue where you have to not just sort of explain yourself, but also defend yourself. It's a very good thing to do. It really forces you to have to think, and it's very healthy.
Yeah, and I think it's a good lesson too. This is a struggle we have here all the time. We don't always agree as a team on what we should be working on, how it should be done. And it happens all the time.
Yeah,
Ren and I have a disagreement about what we should be working on, how it should be done, what it should look like. And Michael and I have a disagreement about, how complex the solution needs to be, or how simple it should be, or what we should get out soon, or how do we prioritize? And it's easy to I think get caught up in, why don't we all agree? Why, let's all let's have no conflict. But it's the better decisions that kind of come out of challenging your thoughts and oh, maybe I'm not thinking about this correctly. There's actually a really great study of research papers that people are working on that get dismissed, or they have a really hard time getting them published. They keep coming back. They're not very successful the first time. They end up being more cited and more successful later on because they were getting rejected over and over and over again. And I feel like that's a very similar thing. Like these people are going through a gamut of kind of struggle or rejection or argument, and it makes the papers better. It makes their arguments better, that when they finally do break through, they're like that much more like solid, and they make much more sense. And so I agree, like we're constantly trying to like avoid conflict, when it's probably best to figure out how to like introduce more of it in our lives, like what you're doing here at this conference.
Yeah, I think it just, you think about, comes a weird analogy. I don't know if it's right again, but the human body, like if you want to build your muscles, you got to break them down. You've got to actually break them down. You've got to injure your muscles in some ways. You have to tear them to build them up stronger. And I think the same thing is true with the point of view, is that people have to sort of beat into your point of view a bit and tear into your point of view a bit, or present alternative points of view which help strengthen yours, because you get a new perspective you didn't have, and you can incorporate that or not, or whatever. But it's like the more sort of noise there is, sort of the stronger things seem to get there. And I do think it's important. And I've seen this happen a lot, where people dig in and defend something, but they haven't really thought about it because they never had to. And it's not even really their fault again. It's just like they haven't been in an environment where people question their point of view, and so they never had to develop one. They just had to come up with a like a summary, And so anyway, yep. I think it's good, and I think it's good with your product too, to go into an environment and show your product or talk about your product in an environment where people have never seen anything like it before, never heard about it. They don't even know why they need it, why they use it. I was talking to a fellow actually today after the talk I gave. Some guy came up to me, and he started a business for I'm trying to actually explain it, but it's like it's marketing for the Hispanic market. So he's from Mexico. I believe he said he's from Mexico. He came in and he's trying to help Hispanic business owners with social media work, sales, a bunch of things, right? And he's like, it's a huge market, and all the companies I see, they don't know what they're doing, and he goes, but I can't sell. I go in and no one's buying my services, and I'm like, well, why not? What's going on? And he's saying, well, I don't know, but I make this pitch and I tell them how big the market is, and I said, well, their problem is not how big the market is. They know the market. They know the market's big, but it doesn't even matter. And people are like, well, it's a $1.5 trillion market. Well, the small business down the street doesn't have access to the $1.5 trillion market anyway. It doesn't matter. What matters is, like, what are they struggling with? Are they unable to get customers? Maybe they already have enough customers maybe they have too many customers and they can't handle it anymore. And their struggles are actually, I need to hire more people. I don't want more business because I don't even have enough people to, or maybe it is they don't have any business and they're looking to get business. But when you come in and try to sell them something without understanding what they're struggling with, it's very difficult to make a sale because they're not going to connect with that. But if you listen to them and you find out what they are struggling with, and if something comes up, which happens to be, we can't connect with people online. We're only getting walk-in business, or I'm making stuff up here, but you can say, oh, well, I can help you with that. That's very different than saying, buy this from me. Saying buy this from me when I don't know what you need is very different than listening, hearing something and saying, let me help you with that. And the point I'm trying to make here, it's a little bit of a roundabout point though, was that this guy in his head has these ideas that everyone should want his product, clearly, because it's a $1.5 trillion market and he can help you get a piece of it. But he hasn't been challenged. Like he just has it in his mind that everyone wants it. But he hasn't really sat down with someone and said, what do you want? Like, what's going on in your business? What's going on? And so he hasn't heard that yet. And once he starts hearing that, I think he's going to see that maybe what he's selling isn't quite the right mix, or maybe he is selling the right mix, but he's not putting the right perspective for somebody, and he's coming in too strong at the beginning. I don't know what it is, but we had a nice chat about it. And he was very open to that. He goes, I hadn't thought about it that way. I keep telling myself that everyone should want what I need, of course, or what I'm selling. Of course they should, but I haven't. But then again, I'm not selling it, so I'm not doing something right. And so anyway, yeah. It's sort of a different take on what we've been talking about, but it is this idea that you got to go somewhere where people aren't ready for what you have to sell, and then listen and then make a point and have something to back it up, and that's how you get stronger, I think.
Yeah. That's an interesting segue to like something I feel like we struggle with at at high rise. Like we constantly find people who you know, don't want the product because they find that a spreadsheet is like good enough. And it's interesting. Like I'm trying to figure out how to analyze that situation properly. Like it's like, does it mean we need more power that meets what they're doing in the spreadsheet, or does it mean we really need to figure out a different problem to solve for them to kind of figure out the value that could be in high rise? Or maybe it's totally like, hey, that's you should just stick with your spreadsheet, which is totally fine. Like maybe you don't have the problems yet that we can solve. And so it's, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, tied to that would be like some guy has a spreadsheet and you're like, what are you doing? You should be using high rise. And they're like, why?
That's the wrong approach.
My spreadsheet's fine. What do you mean I should be using that thing, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, but what do you mean it's fine? Of course it's not fine. Look at all the things I can do for you. And he's like, I don't need any of those things done for me. What are you trying to sell me? But maybe there's an insight there about spreadsheets, and maybe you know, the world. What I've realized is that the world runs on basically email and Excel. That's kind of really what the world runs on, and I don't think that's a bad thing, by the way. It just sort of, it is what it is. And spreadsheets and email are, and I think part of the reason why those two tools specifically are so prevalent is because they're incredibly flexible, and they can do all sorts of things. And you just type and it sort of works. Anyway, and I guess the point is that, you know, maybe there's an insight there, which is people are using a spreadsheet to keep track of contacts. Perhaps high-rise's interface should be more spreadsheet-like. You know, maybe just, and we've been thinking about this actually with Basecamp 3. We're launching a new version of the to-dos feature inside Basecamp 3, but we didn't take it as far as we wanted to. And we ended up actually backing off some ideas that we had because they weren't fully formed and we were running a little bit low on time. And so we kind of backed into a familiar place. We've made the to-dos better, but we haven't really, like, we've made our version of to-dos better, but I think there's a better version of to-dos that we could have made. And part of that is to explore more of a spreadsheet style interface for to-do lists, because it turns out columns and rows are really useful and powerful things when it comes to keeping track of things to do. And so what's interesting is that most to-do lists and to-do tools are not, I mean, they have rows and some of them have like additional bits of information, but they don't necessarily look like spreadsheets as much as I think they might. And there might be a real familiarity and a real power to spreadsheets. So anyway, it might be an opportunity for you to think about, wow, if this looked more like a spreadsheet in some ways, if the interface was more spreadsheet-like, maybe then this huge market would open up of people who love spreadsheets, love working with spreadsheets, but they don't have quite enough power with them, or I don't really know what their struggles are with them. But it might just be more familiar, because if that's how they prefer to organize stuff, and they come in and look at Horizon and it's not like that, like, this isn't a spreadsheet. I can't use this at all. So maybe there's an insight there. I actually think that there might be something really interesting about thinking about, you know, when you guys get around to redoing high rise, thinking more about it that way could be kind of interesting. I don't know.
No, absolutely. Because you're right, because it is. I mean, I think you're right. Like, it is the familiar interface. I feel like there's even some low-hanging fruit there though too. Like right now we see customers want the power of the spreadsheet. They still use high rise, but then they end up, they come to a problem that they want to solve, doing something in like a bulk way, or you know, updating a lot of things at one time, that they want the power of the spreadsheet. It's finally time to like use that tool. But the process then of going from high rise to spreadsheet requires exporting all your stuff and then doing your thing and then re-importing all your stuff, which is like this kind of laborious process. You have to export the stuff and then re-import, make sure things match, the columns all rematch again. I mean, I think there's a way to just remove a lot of those steps that, like, you know, yeah, maybe down the road there's a lot of interestingness to making it more like a spreadsheet. But man, I think we could just even embrace, like, I don't even know what it is, but there's, you know, Google Sheets and Excel now is even online, and they can probably do some interesting syncing where we can just like pop open a spreadsheet, make your changes, and it just automatically syncs. There's no more export import you have to do. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. There's definitely some really interesting stuff to do there, to just kind of observe how people use these things rather than trying to convince them to move off of it.
Yeah, and there's a tendency, I think, sometimes in our industry, especially, to think that, well, a spreadsheet's been around for a long time, so they're old. So it's old.
Right.
Well, that isn't really in my opinion, that is not a dimension worth considering. Like, it doesn't matter if it's old or new. It's, does it work? And if a spreadsheet didn't, if it was old and it just didn't work and people have been struggling with them forever, and there was something better, fine. But I think spreadsheets are really damn good.
Yep.
They have a lot of things. And just because they were invented years and years and years and years and years ago doesn't mean they're bad, or that they're old, or that they're outdated. So, you know, there may be some really good lessons to take from that.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing's true for email, for example. Yeah, it's been around for a long time, but so what? It's awesome. I mean, I can reach anybody. I don't have to worry about anything. They have an email address. I can get in touch with them.
Yep.
That's valuable, incredibly valuable.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what platform they're on. Doesn't matter what they're using. It's the most portable thing there ever was when it comes to digital communications, I think. And anyway, there's some real value in that. So
yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember people, you know, there's always a proclamation that email is going to be dead, but it's like, my God, it just keeps coming back. Like, there's just more and more use for it. And
like, why would you want it to die? That's the thing I just still don't understand, is if you're like, it's dead, why would you want it to die? Like, hey, if you need to get a hold of me right now and you need to write me something, how would you do it? Like, I can tell anyone to just email me, jason@basecamp.com. I'm going to get emails. Like, if I say my Twitter address, some people are like, I'm not on Twitter. If I say I'm on this, I might not be on that. Of course, I could say my phone number, but I don't want to give that out. And it's also not a great way to really send something to somebody. It's like, the fact that you can reach anybody via email is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Yeah, it's full, there's spam, and yeah, there's all this other stuff going on. But who would want that simple, absolute guarantee of communication to die? I don't know. It doesn't really, I don't get that.
Yeah, especially these days. Like, I feel like the reach Twitter has today is less than it was before. I mean, there was like this hope that, like, whoa, we'll just all be talking in 140 characters. But today, I mean, I don't know. It's just like a megaphone that, like, I don't really have that many conversations on Twitter. And it's partially my fault too, but it's not the same as email. I can't reach someone like.
Yeah, I mean, you can't send a file to some. There's a lot, like, Twitter's killer for what Twitter is. It's killer if you know, two people are on it and the whole thing. But it to me, it doesn't replace anything. It's additive. It's an additive way of reaching people, but it doesn't say like email's dead. Like, anyway, whatever.
Have you explored these other, like, social network channels? I mean, like, I've gotten, so one of the challenges that I've kind of gotten myself into with, like, even doing this podcast is, like, exploring some of these things that are very new to me, like podcast, like getting a podcast on the Apple, and then SoundCloud, and trying to distribute, you know, these feeds, and I don't know, like, I know you've been fooling with Instagram, and, like, but I also know, like, you've been checking out just Snapchat. Like, have you gotten any use out of these things? Any interest? Like, should we be filming a Snapchat of us talking? And
yeah, it's a great question. It is a great. I've been using Instagram a lot. I left Facebook years and years ago and never rejoined Facebook, even though it's the biggest there is. I just didn't get back into it. Instagram is really interesting to me because, and I've written a bit about this, but it's a very positive place in general, and I like that. I also feel like it's effortless to communicate with a picture, while it takes effort to write something. A lot of people aren't good writers. They don't know how to necessarily communicate very well, but they can snap a shot of themselves or something they like, or a book cover or whatever, and just share it. And I think there's something really special about that. But what's really cool about Instagram for me is that I'm into vintage watch collecting, and there's an enormous community that I didn't know existed until I jumped on Instagram. And I followed dozens and dozens of collectors, and they're sharing pictures of stuff they found or they bought or they sold. And I'm learning a ton about all these esoteric details about watch collecting that I just didn't know about before. I knew some general things, but I didn't know anything about some of these esoteric details. And seeing pictures and having people describe things, it's a wonderful place to learn, actually. That's what's really been eye-opening to me. Um, and tied to that too is also it's a wonderful place to conduct business. I've bought and sold watches on Instagram, and what's crazy is that there's no commerce built in. You just like you see something you like, or someone sees something you like, they post in the comment. It's like these patterns that have emerged where you're just like someone just like mentions you, and they're like FS question mark, which means for sale, and sometimes you reply, and then sometimes you reply NFS, not for sale, or sometimes you say yeah DM me or PM me to send a message or. But that's how I sort of got into WhatsApp, because a lot of these dealers will have like WhatsApp to text them about stuff. And so I started getting to WhatsApp, and there's like a whole community in WhatsApp, kind of. It's not the same kind of community, but it's a great way to reach people. And everyone who's on Instagram's on WhatsApp because it's an international thing. And it's like these interesting fingers that kind of just go out and touch all these different people in different ways that I didn't know was out there, which I never got. By the way, I think Twitter is one of the most amazing things in the past 10 years, truly do. But I never got into, I never felt a sense of community on Twitter. Twitter, for me, has always been communicating, but not a sense of community. Instagram feels like a very intense sense of community for me with these collectors. And it's just very interesting. Snapchat, a couple people at work will send me stuff on Snapchat occasionally, and it's sort of fun. I don't really totally get it, and I feel like I should get it some more. I've looked at some of the stuff they're doing, and it's very interesting to me. Super interesting, but I feel like I don't know enough about it, so we might just want to try something.
Yeah.
Right? Try a show, see what happens. I don't know, play with it. I think it's important. I think it's important to know what's going on. It's easy to dismiss something as like, oh, that doesn't make sense, but and maybe it doesn't to you until you learn it, but there's obviously something happening there. It's good to know what it is.
Yeah. If I remember right, this is a total tangent, but it's something I'm actually considering doing, like running like a CEO office hours, like letting folks just ping me. I'm not quite sure how. Didn't you do something like this years and years ago? Like,
yeah, I did.
Give away a phone number. How did you do that? What was scheduling that like? Was that successful? Did you like doing that? I
did, but I don't like scheduling things because it's a pain in the ass. So I just said, I'm going to be available from 2 to 4 Central Time. Here's a phone number. I tweeted out. I made a web page actually as well. And I said, first come, first serve. Calls are no longer than 10 minutes. And that's that. And so every call that came in, I set a timer. Some of them were much quicker than 10 minutes. If they approached 10, I'd let the person know and I'd say, I got to go. And I'd hang up and wait for the next call. And that was that. So it eliminated the whole like set up a scheduling system. And if someone doesn't show, what do you do? It's just first come, first serve. It's like a retail store. Someone walks in the door. If you're busy, you wait until someone's free, and that's that. So it was really fun, actually. Although I did it for, I don't know how long I did it for, a few months.
Did you give out a Skype number or a Google Hangout number or a
Google Voice
number? Yeah,
I use Google Voice. It just forwarded to. I set up. We have a phone service. I remember now. We have a phone service called OnSip, which is a voice over IP service basically. And I bought a temporary number and had it sent to one of the extensions in the office, and I would just go sit in that room and take calls during that time.
Gotcha.
That's how I did that. I did it for a while, and then it kind of faded away. I think I went out of town for a while and just kind of stopped. This is like another version of that in some ways, this show. But it's cool. It's great. I actually been thinking about doing it for customers, like just basically having open office hours like we're doing now, but every day from 3 to 4, you can reach me. And
yeah, you had kind of sparked this when we talked about like sending something in an app, and you wanted to email all your customers like, hey, I want to talk. And like, I mean, I kind of want to do that too, but it's just like immediately I start thinking like, schedules are going to get involved. Yeah. And it's just like, no,
do things that are hard. Do something that's easy. So like, it's easy to share a phone number and say, first come, first serve. But I'll limit the calls to 10 minutes max. That way I can at least at minimum talk to 6 people in an hour, but probably more because they won't all go that long. And those are the rules. Very simple. I'm looking forward to chatting with you, and here's the number, and looking forward to talking to you. And so just do it that way and see what happens. And it's just so much like there's less. it's lo-fi and it just works, and it's totally adequate and perfect and good way to start.
Yeah,
Basically, it's a good way to start because I remember looking into this. I'm like, oh my God, do I have to sign up? So I actually signed up for the service called Schedule Once, which is it's a really nice service. It lets you put up your calendar and set up slots, and it's actually really, really well done. A fantastic product. But I just didn't want to deal with, I just didn't want to do that. I just didn't want to do it. So I was like, here's the number, here's the slots, call.
Yep.
And then I turned off call waiting basically. So we disabled call waiting on the service. So it's just basically a busy signal, I think, or something, or voice. Yeah. Actually, I remember though, it went to a voicemail, and the voicemail I recorded saying, I'm doing these office hours from 3 to 4 or 2 to 4, whatever it was. If I'm not answering during that time, it's because I'm on another call. Calls are maxed out at 10 minutes. So, try again in a few minutes, and hopefully there'll be a gap and we can chat. I just kind of explained the rules there too. And when you can explain the rules in a sentence or two, it's a good idea.
That's true.
Yeah. But when you're like, well, if you want to talk to me, go to basecamp.com/schedule-a-call, and then go and click the, it's like, no, that's not easy. Call the number, call me back. If I'm not here, call me back. I'll be answering the phone every few minutes.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah. So we'll see. I'll give this a roll too.
You could try for a week or two, or a couple weeks or a month or whatever, and just say, between these times I'm free. Send a note to your customer somehow and say, talk to me. I want to know how things are going. Let me know. And I'm actually going to be doing that in Basecamp 3. We have a reports feature, and we're going to launch with 5 reports. And I know people are going to want more reports. So I'm going to put a link at the bottom of the reports menu, a direct email address to me, saying I want to know what you want to know. What do you want to know? Be specific, and maybe we can make some reports for you, because I just want to gather those up and make them really quickly for people. So just that's a great way to get information. Just ask for it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool.
Anything to do with you, by the way? We got a few more minutes, I guess.
Not really. I mean, there's always. I'm exhausted today. I'm sure people can tell. Maybe.
What's going
tired.
on?
What's that?
What happened?
Just tired.
Mentally, physically, both.
A little bit of both. I mean, I try to go to sleep and I can't. I'll sit in bed with a book, try, and I'll even feel a little tired, and then I can't sleep. And it's not even just a bad thing. My mind is just racing on stuff. I've even been fooling with we're working on a ton of different projects here, and there's even some stuff that I'm starting to kick off that's possibly oh, here's a new little project that's kind of outside of the traditional high-rise software that will do something very different that I don't think anybody's doing yet. And it's just, my mind's just on it. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But then in the end, it keeps me awake. And then I get up at a certain time. I can't really sleep in either. And so, just then the rest of the day is just kind of shot. And then it just accumulates after a few days. And then it's just damn it, this week is just dragging. It's just weird. It just sometimes does that.
Mm-hmm. I know the feeling. It can be heavy. the atmosphere can be heavy, and I'm kind of sort of feeling the same way. I'm looking forward to. I'm going to be up in Wisconsin for a day sometime the next week. Going up there for a day with a couple friends, staying the night, and just kind of getting away prior to the big final push for Basecamp 3. And I just feel it's take a walk in the woods with some friends, light a fire at night, sit around the campfire, have some s'mores, just chill out a little bit, and reset for the the home stretch. So sometimes I think that might be the best thing you can do, is actually just take a day off.
It's true. We get some time in November.
Off. Just take it off.
Yeah, maybe.
And you're like, I can't. Yes, you can. That's the thing. Yes, you can. Because you'll always say, I can't. Just take it off tomorrow. Don't go into work. We still have to do the show because we can't today.
You can't take the show off.
But don't go to work tomorrow.
Maybe.
Go to the Botanical Gardens. Have you been to the Botanical Gardens up in Highland Park?
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. My dad gets us a membership every year.
Go take a walk.
That's true.
I'll do it with you one morning if you want. If you want to go, you probably want to go by yourself because that's even more relaxing. But If you want to go, like I'd go get up early some morning and go up there and just take a
Mm.
walk, have breakfast or something. It's just a great way to kind of reset. It's amazing what just a little walk like that will do for the rest of your day. So,
That's a good idea. All right, dude. I'll take you up on that.
all right, deal.
All right. So yeah, 3 o'clock tomorrow then.
Yes, but you're not working tomorrow, right?
That's right. Well,
Or take a day off next week or this week. Just take a day off, man.
yeah.
Sleep better.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Later.
See
All
you.
right. Everybody subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel down here, wherever it is. Please get on the list. How many people do we have now?
We've 870-ish, so almost 900 people.
Let's get to 1,000 by the end of the week. It's Wednesday. Let's do it. Let's try and do it. Please, if you like the show, please tell people about it. If you think it'd be handy or helpful for others or useful for others, just let them know. Twitter, Facebook, wherever you are, Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, wherever you were hanging out, just post something. Tell some people about the show. It's been great to hear from people on Twitter. Really, really appreciate people's thoughts about the show, and people seem to be liking it. So let's try and get up to 1,000. That'd be wonderful.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, dude. See ya.
See ya.